Good evening, everybody. We thank you for being here. We welcome our guests. We have a good many people here for a special night as we are wanting to honor our young people. In the meantime, we're going to be worshiping the Lord here for a bit, and then we'll move next door. I want to spend my time this evening addressing the young people and commending them and assuring them in some things that I want to make sure they know. But before I start that, let me say that while they're going to be commended and you're going to learn about the awards that they were given last weekend over at LTC in Kansas City, there are some people who are critically important in what is achieved in that LTC program. And they don't get awards and they don't get any paper to bring home with them. They don't get blue ribbons or anything. They're the sponsors and they're the parents. They're the people who train these young people and teach them in all these areas for months and months, getting them ready. They're the ones who go along. They're the ones who make sure there's food over there and that there's a plan and the rooms are arranged and all, and I think Brett does that. But there's so many different things that are essential so that they are well prepared to win these honors you'll hear about. And they didn't just happen because our young people were wanting to do those things, but because there were parents and other adults who sponsored and worked in this. So when we go in that room, be sure you look around and you'll figure out who the people are who were with them and the ones who encouraged them, and realize that they were great contributors to making this possible. The future of the church lies in our youth. And any generation, as you've heard me say and other preachers say through the years, that we're always one generation away from apostasy. In the scriptures, in the Old Testament, the time of Joshua, one generation passed without the young people being taught in the ways of God. And when Joshua died and his contemporaries, the scripture says that a generation arose that knew not God. And then all kinds of bad things happened. And the book of Judges ends with the fact that everybody was just doing what seemed right to himself. They had no guidance, no leadership. In every generation, it is essential that those of us who are adult do everything we possibly can to steer and to encourage the young people in the right direction, that we provide for them everything that we can that's beneficial and helpful to them. Not necessarily everything that's entertaining and fun and those things, but the things that are going to help them to be faithful to God. And ultimately, the goal is that they go to heaven. They have a good life here upon this earth, and they go to heaven. These are the reasons why we're engaged in these ministries that involve our young people. Now, young people, there's just about 3 or 4 things that I really want to say this evening. These are things that I think typically we take for granted, and we hope that you take for granted at the same time. But just tonight, because it's a night we're dedicating to you, I want to iterate them to make sure that they have been said rather than they're taken for granted. The first one is, I want you to know we love you. We love you so much. We appreciate you so much. We'd go to the ends of the earth, so to speak, to provide for you what you need and to keep you safe in Jesus Christ. We would have our heart broken if we thought any of you were in jeopardy spiritually. It just would crush us because we love you. And so we support you. And that is as it ought to be. In the early church, the kind of respect and love for young people that I'm trying to communicate here is displayed in cases like when the Apostle Paul was wanting someone that he could train who would walk in his own footsteps. He chose apparently a quite young man, a man who undoubtedly was still in his teens at the time, a young man named Timothy. Titus, whenever he came along, might also have not been much older, but yet he was in training and learning the ways that he was to also teach in another generation. Remember Paul told the church at Ephesus that he had sent Epaphroditus to them as well. But in that fourth chapter, I believe, no, it's the second chapter of Ephesians, he's talking about the fact that I've got someone who's coming to you, Timothy. This young man, Timothy, he said, I want you to treat him well. I want you to respect him as though you would respect me. But the key line in that about this young man is that he said, I have no one like him in whom I have greater trust. And you young people know we have great confidence in you, and we love you. We want to support you in every way. And we want you to know, the second thing, we want you to know you count. You're as much members of this congregation as any of us are. It's not something that you're waiting someday to be full-fledged members, but you count right now. You make a difference. And we wouldn't be who we are except that you are part of us. And you ought to have a voice also. And we ought to listen, and we ought to share. I think that the greatest evidence that I could give to the fact that you count and we love you and we respect you for who you are would lie in the fact, for instance, that there aren't that many people, some of whom aren't your parents and may not even have children of their own, who spend so much time working with the youth program because they believe in you and you count. I think, and I still almost chuckle when I talk about and mention the name of, when we have Bubba's Tea Party. If you are a guest, you might not know about Bubba, but he's here, and he is here in many of the guys. And when we get together for Bubba's Tea Party and eat beans and onions and cornbread from a metal pie pan, and when we bid on pies and cakes, when the guys give $30, $40, $50 for a cake or a pie, when they give $50, $100 for a book or for a tool that they may already have one like, they're not buying the tool or the pie with all due respect to the people who made it. They're supporting the youth program. And this year when we said the funds that we raised at the auction at the Bubba's Tea Party would be used to send you to Kansas City and allow you those things, it was evidence that they believed in you and you counted, and they wanted to support that. Whenever in a few minutes about 30 guys raised $1,400 in one evening, and they gave about 1,000 or 1,100 of that for the work that you did last weekend. These are things that I hope you know indicate we love you and we count you as very, very important to this church. And we see you, the third thing, we see you as one of our greatest challenges. Not because you're a problem, but because we're in over our head. There was a guy back there at Heritage Christian University who, Brother Overton was his name. He was at the school when it first began. The library there is named for him and his wife. Now still the Overton not public, but library at Heritage Christian University. But Brother Overton would say, one of the good things about what we're doing is that we don't have a clue what we're doing. And by that, he meant that we never know just how much good is going to come ultimately by the providence of God out of what we do. We give it our best, and we do the best we know how, but we're not claiming any inspiration or wisdom that says we always know what's the best thing to do. And when people are old enough to be elders and deacons, they also have reached a point where your generation is a strange animal to us. You talk differently, you think differently, you're born in a different time. You're taught differently at school and wherever you go, and your music, bless your heart, it's different often, you know, and we don't get all of that. And we hope we don't have to get all of that to get you. And we hope that we don't have to always act like we're your age for you to understand we'll listen. Because if we don't listen, then we won't hear. And if we don't hear what's on your heart and what your needs are, then we're not very likely to meet your needs. And so we see you as a challenge because we don't want to lose not one ever any of you. And so we just see it as a place we need to live and learn. But you can feel, hopefully you can feel that we are open so you can tell us what's on your mind. You can tell us when we trip and when we fall, and we will accept it because we love you, we respect you, and we honor you. There are so many things, and particularly the book of Proverbs, that we could pick out and say each one of these things are things we want you to know. Like the second chapter of Proverbs deals a great deal with the fact that if you'll just study God's Word and apply it, then life's going to be better and heaven is much more sure for you. Indeed it is. But you're learning those things as you prepare for LTC and as you have your regular Bible classes. We could iterate a lot of those things. But if you just know that we love you, that you count, we don't want to lose any of you because you're so precious that we count you our greatest challenge in the good sense. If I could communicate that to you tonight or always, for the sake of the whole church, not just for your parents or your Bible class teachers, not just for the deacons and the elders or from the sake of the man that stands in the pulpit or the youth minister, not just for that. So you can know this whole church loves you. And in a few minutes, when they hear how well you've done, I think they're going to lift you up even higher because we're so proud. Thanks for listening a few minutes. Now we're going to have a song of invitation, and then we'll move forward with closing this service and moving over to the celebration. If you're subject to the invitation of Jesus in any way this evening to become a child of God through obedience to the gospel, we would encourage you to use this opportunity. If you're one who needs the prayers of the church, the forgiveness of God, we'll pray with you about that too. If you'll just come and let us know how we can help you while we stand together and sing.